All right. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Hey, what's going on, everybody? I got my crew with me, Darnell and Tyler. I'm Trey, and we're coming your way with the 26th edition of the Don't Kill the Messengers podcast. First thing that we're about to get into today, before we get into the finals, we had some breaking news about some pretty good trades coming in today. One involving Derrick Rose and the other involving Jeff Teague. First one was Derrick Rose. He's going to be playing for the Knicks now, and Jeff Teague is going to be ending up in Indiana. What do you guys think about these trades that happened today?
Personally, I like both of the trades. I think the big names in each of the trades are going somewhere better for themselves. I think, especially with Derrick Rose going to New York, basically in exchange for Robin Lopez, I think that trade will benefit both teams because it looks like Joakim Noah's not going to end up back in Chicago. So Robin Lopez is a very similar type of player, brings a lot of energy, a lot of good defense, not a ton offensively, but can still score a little bit. And then Derrick Rose gets to go to New York, maybe get a new start. I mean, Chicago kind of moved on from him anyway when Jimmy Butler really hit the scene. So it wasn't his team anymore, and he knew it. So I think he's kind of ready to move on. And I think New York's going to be a good spot for him with Carmelo there. And I don't know, I think he'll be able to kind of be back in the spotlight a little bit, a big media market. New York's going to offer him a lot, kind of a second chance here. So I think Derrick Rose will have a pretty good year next year. He'll be able to not be the old Derrick Rose, but I think he'll be able to have a little more freedom in that team. And I think Carmelo's going to be happy to have someone alongside of him that he kind of hasn't had as of late. And then in terms of Jeff Teague, I like him ending up in Indiana. Jeff Teague's a pretty decent three-point shooter. And for the Pacers, he's a better three-point option than they had last year. With the game starting to revolve around the three-point line, I think we're going to see a lot of people targeting shooters for the draft and targeting shooters in the off-season and free agency. So I think now if you can land a shooter, your team's going to be better off. It'll just be interesting with free agency if people are going to potentially overpay for shooters or make bad deals for shooters. But with the way the NBA is moving, anytime your team can land a shooter, you're going to get something good in return.
Yeah, I'm along the same lines. I do think both trades were good for where the bigger names went. I think New York is going to be helped out by getting Rose. I mean, he's not the Rose of 4 or 5 years ago. He's not going to be just athletically just destroying every other point guard he goes against anymore, but still a quality player. It'll be some more help for Melo, and I think it'll help ease some pressure on Porzingis to have to become that immediate number two after showing some flashes last year. I think it gives him some more cushion, and I think this is also just part of New York's plans to try to get another big name there. They made this trade. I know it's still a lot of money in between Rose and Melo, but I think they might want to try to get another max or close to max player, probably in the name of a big like Dwight Howard or a swing man. They'll be putting themselves into the Durant sweepstakes because I think his big deal was with New York was them updating their backcourt, which they did do with this move, and it looks like they're probably not going to be so heavily reliant on a triangle with picking up Jeff Hornacek as a coach. So I think that will help the Knicks out there. Indy, they seem to be in the East, that team that was right on the cusp of battling with the elites. So I think getting Jeff Teague will be good there to pair him up with Paul George, get another consistent scorer. and I think that's just going to be a nasty duo to deal with next year.
Yeah, and with Teague too, he's not shy in the assists either. He's usually always up toward top 10 in assists most years.
Oh,
so
yeah, for sure.
With the coming out party this past season for Miles Turner, he caught a lot of attention this past year. Him getting the ball in any time, Paul George can catch fire. Jeff Teague is going to get you the ball. Like, he's experienced. He knows how to get you the ball. So I think that's something that they've been lacking as of late. When your guards, who they had, George Hill, who's now out in this trade, and Monte Ellis, those aren't assist guys. So for Jeff Teague to come in, and if he can average 7 assists a game, 6.5 to 7 a game, I think Indiana's definitely going to see a lot of value coming out of him.
Agreed.
Now, just real quick for the full trade, New York Knicks, they got Derrick Rose, Justin Holiday, and a 2017 second-round pick. And the Bulls, they got Robin Lopez, Jose Calderon, and Jerian Grant. And for the Pacers, Utah, and Atlanta trade, three-way trade, the Indiana Pacers, they got Jeff Teague. The Utah Jazz, they got George Hill, and the Atlanta Hawks, they got the first round. They got the number 12 pick in this year's draft. So, just looking at this, what team do you think benefited the most from these trades?
I think New York benefited a lot because now they can look at some big free agents and say, hey, look what we've added. They'll say Derrick Rose isn't what he was, but I still think Derrick Rose had a pretty good year, and he stayed healthy for the most part this past year. And, just some missed spots. I think he missed 2 weeks at the most at one point, but compared to what he had been dealing with, that's pretty good. So they're really going to try and sell Derrick Rose, sell Carmelo, Porzingis, and I think they have the most inviting roster from these trades. So I really like what New York did here.
Yeah, I'm hedging on mine. I go Indy, just off the basis of if nothing else happens. I think
that's fair.
Indy's help more, but on the back end, like what Tyler just said and what I was referring to earlier, if it does bring them another top tier player that joins the team to help them, then I would shift it more towards New York. But right now, I go Pacers.
Yeah, that's very reasonable. I do like the Pacers with them, Teague, and then PG-13 out there balling out. I think that's going to help those guys a lot. Just something that they were missing to me was just like a good point guard. Jeff Teague, he can deliver, bring assists to the team, and D Rose, not the old D Rose with all those injuries and stuff that he's had, but he can still play. And hopefully for the New York Knicks, they can help bring in another top-tier player. So definitely good on both parts of both of these teams. It'll be interesting to see how they work together and everything next year. So, yeah. Now, any other thoughts on the trade, guys?
Interesting to see how they work out.
Yeah.
All right, we got the draft coming on tomorrow. What are you guys' thoughts on it?
I'll let you start this one, Darnell.
I mean, it's new players coming in the league, so I'm interested to watch. As news broke today, it looks like 1 and 2 are pretty much cemented. As far as most draft classes go, I can't say this is like we're gonna get a bunch of Hall of Famers out of this one. We can get some solid players coming out, but a mediocre draft class if I had to grade it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I would agree there. Very average. Even I would even say it's quite average with the number 1 and the number 2 in Simmons and Ingram. Mm-hmm. Only because I don't think we look at either of those guys and say, oh, they're going to come into the league and dominate. This isn't 2003. This isn't 1984. Like those drafts were something you'll only see once every 20 years or so. So it's an average draft. I think there's going to be a lot of good role players for teams that come out of this draft, though. When you have a player like, Denzel Valentine, who had a bunch of triple doubles this year at Michigan State, Buddy Hield, who was player of the year. I mean, Valentine was runner up. So you got those two, Simmons and Ingram and Chris Dunn. I mean, there's a lot of good in the draft. Just nobody that's going to come out and absolutely just dominate.
I agree with Tyler. There should be some decent talent as far as role players and some solid starters that'll come out of the draft. But, you look at who tore up college last year, the two college players of the year with Valentine and Hield could both possibly be out of the lottery. So that's why I'm not seeing like an elite class here. And your number one pick, most likely he couldn't even get his team to the tournament. So I'm not sure about any Hall of Famers coming out of here.
Yeah, and I think it's really interesting when you mention that, because both of the two guys that dominated college this year were 4-year guys, and the top two that are going are one and dones.
Yep.
So and I think this is one of the few drafts we'll see where there are a few 4-year guys and a lot of guys that are, not one and dones. But it is interesting to see the two big one and dones leading the class despite not leading NCAA.
Yeah.
So you guys think last year's draft was better than this year's, or?
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. What about you? You agree, Ty?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's just interesting because I think a few of the one and dones that came out of last year were just better players. I think, granted, Karl Anthony Towns was a 2-year player, but I think he's better than Simmons.
Agreed, yeah. And just off the strength of him, I think he's going to be an elite player. So I think that's better than what we're getting out of anybody in this draft, unless somebody just comes out and surprises us. But that was somebody that was expected to be pretty great, and he showed himself.
Yeah, he definitely delivered. Yeah, definitely delivered.
All right. Now, for you guys, like, favorite players, where would you like to see them go? I know, like, Darnell, you were a Valentine fan. He was repping MSU. Where would you like to see him end up?
Well, I know, like, now with word that, like, there might be some knee surgery that he has, he's probably going to drop probably close to the end of the round now, which I think is actually better for him. He'll get to go on a better team where he can probably grow, possibly play behind somebody at a similar position than him. I would like to see him, if he's going to drop, I would like to see him drop to like maybe a San Antonio or Golden State, just drop all the way to the end so you can go in with some veterans like that. And like
him in San Antonio, man, I would,
I think that's a fit for him. He's a coach's dream.
Yeah, and one reason I think he'd fit there is I think he'd learn a lot from, what's his name?
Parker?
No.
Or Popovich?
No, he's your boy. No, defensive player. Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard. Don't know why I drew a blank on that. I think he'd learn a lot from Kawhi Leonard. Really good offensively, really good defensively.
Just
and
great
Valentine,
all-around player.
And Valentine brings a lot both ends of the floor. Now I'm not saying he would necessarily get to that level as fast, but I do think Kawhi Leonard's going to be a great player to learn under if he were to end up there. So I think that actually would be a pretty good fit for him.
Yeah, and I think there he could end up being like an heir apparent to Tony Parker.
Yeah.
They might want him to play more too because of his height, but with his ball handling and court vision, I think he could do work or just be the new Ginobili coming off the bench. And if he can knock down some shots, like get NBA range under his belt.
Yeah. Now, what about you, Ty?
One player. There's a few players I like in this draft. I think the nation is actually going to be pretty interested to see where Buddy Hield goes for sure. Just taking over the college scene last year. One spot I would be very interested to see him go would be to the Minnesota Timberwolves, actually at number 5. Personally, I think that's a little high, but I think he would actually be a pretty good fit there. Minnesota just has young, exploding talent. Now, Buddy Hield wouldn't exactly be on the younger end of that team, but they don't necessarily have great 3-point shooters. I think Buddy Hield would be able to go there, shoot the 3-ball for him, give him good minutes, just be a really good scorer, good jump shooter. They have a lot of guys that can get to the rim. I think if they can land another solidified shooter, they would be very, very interesting and dangerous. I think they'd be dangerous because I think a lot of people are looking at the Timberwolves and saying, give them 2-3 more years and they may be cracking the playoffs. I mean, I think everybody likes what they're doing. They're just waiting for them to do it now. Hield would be a pretty interesting fit there at number 5, even though like I said, I do think that's a little early.
Yeah, I don't see him going that high, but I mean, I agree. I think it would be a good fit for him.
Yeah. Another player that I'm very intrigued by is this Dragan Bender. And I'm sure everybody's seen the name at this point if you're looking at mock drafts and have probably seen a highlight video, but 7-footer. I think he's kind of the Darko of this draft. Might I throw that out there? Well, he's the.
So are you saying he's going to be a bust?
Not necessarily. I'm just saying the hype of the draft surrounding him.
Yeah.
Or the Porzingis, or the Porzingis. He's going to be the player that has all the hype, and you're going to be very interested to see, 1, where he's taken, and then 2, how is he going to be? I mean, when Darko was coming out, people were drooling over him, a 7-footer with size coming into the NBA. Granted, he just busted, ended up being a kickboxer somewhere. Yeah. And then, I mean, Porzingis was the same way, a 7-footer with some size. But the thing about Porzingis was the fact he could shoot the ball.
Yeah.
He could shoot the 3-pointer, and people were just drooling over that. They were just too scared to take it. And he's working out. So, I mean, I think this Dragan Bender is going to be very intriguing. It'll be very interesting to see where he goes to. I don't necessarily know what's going to be a fit for him. I just know he's going to be one player I'm going to be sitting around waiting to be taken.
Yeah, I've seen him slotted as high as 3, but the lowest I've seen is 5. So
yeah, I mean, a lot of people are kind of sold on him.
Yeah,
it's just, and I wouldn't be surprised if he goes that early, only because Porzingis, I guess you could argue, fell a little based off of what people said his talent was.
Mm-hmm.
And with him working out, are people going to be back on the taking a chance with a foreign player like Bender? And I wouldn't be surprised if he does go a little higher, hoping to land someone just as good, if not better, than Porzingis.
Yeah.
Now, out of all these guys, they're going to be in a draft, who do you think is going to have the best career out of them all?
That's so hard. I mean, it's almost like you get out of the lottery and then these guys may not even start. I mean, even in the lottery, a lot of these guys won't be starters.
Yeah.
I think at that point you have to look at the 1 and 2 picks, only because they're probably going to be the 2 that get the most playtime. Personally,
you don't think Buddy Hield can go beast mode out there, man? Or?
He could, but it's going to be, will his 3-pointer translate over to the pro game? Because I think if he doesn't have the 3-pointer, he's not going to be a whole lot. Since you're basically putting me in a corner and forcing me to pick, I'm going to go Brandon Ingram, only because I think he's walking into the best situation.
Yeah, I think I'm probably along those lines as well, because this is just an impossible one to call, because this is not a class where you just have anybody that can't miss, or more than one that you know will be for sure good. I do think, just being that they're the Lakers, at some point they're going to have some kind of money team. So as long as they work well with this guy, Brandon Ingram, he'll probably turn out to be a solid player. He's probably the safest bet out of this group because I think what you see is what you're going to get with him. A little bit of upside. Simmons is the upside pick. He's the one with the highest ceiling. Or outside of that, you have to start going down to some of the more unknown type players like a Dragon Bender or, I mean, going homer for myself, maybe like a Deontay Davis for the flashes he showed as a freshman at State. Those guys that have a lot of room for a ceiling to grow into something. But yeah, if gun to my head, I'm going with Ingram as well.
You ain't going for with Valentine, man?
I mean, he definitely. I feel like the same way I feel with him that I felt with Draymond. I think he'll be a good player, but Draymond went above and beyond any thought I had of how good he would be. Yeah. I mean, I hope that for DV, but I can't just say for sure he's going to be.
Yeah, I think some of the fascination with Draymond Green was the fact that he got to where he is so quickly. I expected Draymond to be 12, 14 points, 6, 7, 8 rebounds, maybe a few assists because he knew how to, distribute the ball while he was in college. But, the fact that he got here in under 5 years is fascinating to me. And I think that's one reason why, a lot of people kind of like him so much. 30-something people were drafted before him and all this and that. It's a pretty good story, and he's going to have a really good career. But, back to, the Ingram, I think my logic with saying Ingram's going to have a better career is because he's going to Los Angeles where he's going to start. They have nobody in the position that he plays that I think they'll put over him. Whereas you look at Ben Simmons, he's going to be competing for big man time with Joel Embiid if he ever plays, Jahlil Okafor, and Nerlens Noel if they both stay. So if they do, he's going to be kind of third in line behind 2 other top 3 picks. I mean, the situation just doesn't make too much sense for me with Ben Simmons. I was thinking about it, and I'm saying, the Sixers haven't necessarily drafted smart. They've just drafted the best player out there. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but now they're hoarding big men, and it's going to be almost a struggle for playtime because I highly doubt they're going to play Noel, Okafor, and Simmons all at the same time. That just doesn't make any sense, and that's not where the NBA is right now. Yeah. So looking at Ingram, he's going to play. He's going to get minutes. They don't really have anybody, especially now that Kobe's done. So, I mean, they're going to play D'Angelo Russell and Jordan Clarkson.
May play D'Angelo Russell.
Yeah, no, correct, because there's talk about potentially trading him. You're right. So,
by the way, did you guys see that Foot Locker commercial with him?
No.
I've heard about it, but I haven't seen it.
You guys need to check that out. That was hilarious. But yeah, go as you were saying.
Yeah, I think it's just the situation that Brandon Ingram's walking into is way more favorable than the one Simmons is going to be walking into. I think Luke Walton is going to be a better coach for him than I can't even tell you the guy's name in Philly. So I think that speaks for itself. And then I think it's just the fact of the prestige with the Lakers. I think Brandon Ingram isn't going to be, the loud guy that comes into the Lakers and is super flashy and all this and that. But I think he can settle pretty nicely into Los Angeles.
For the Philly side, doesn't it just feel like Nerlens Noel's days are numbered, basically?
Are you talking about his career or just his time there? No,
just time in Philly. I have to feel like he's the odd man out. If they're going to get Simmons, they're not going to give up Embiid unless they get something ridiculous. So I just feel like Noel's out of there.
Yeah. I mean, I think he would be the one. Well, wouldn't Embiid? Did you mean Okafor? Because I was going to say Embiid hasn't even stepped foot on the court yet.
Well, so I mean, he's sitting there. They probably want to see what he can do.
True.
Okafor, they're not touching him. He's there. So I just feel like the only one that you get rid of is Nerlens Noel, he's at least given a little bit of tape for people. So
yeah, it's true.
See what you get.
True. Yeah. So I mean, but even at that point, him and Okafor are almost the same exact player. So I just have a hard time seeing Simmons really flourishing there when he's already competing for time.
Yeah.
True. Yeah. Now, any other thoughts on this draft, guys?
It's always an exciting time.
Yeah.
Yep.
We'll be checking that out for sure.
Hopefully some more trades start getting thrown out. Feels good when it's a little hotbed for the NBA.
Yeah.
Do you guys think Celtics may trade?
They're trying
trade
like
number 3.
They're trying like hell, but it's just I don't think anybody trusts anybody enough where they feel like they have to jump up there to get them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, unless somebody hard on for Croatian guy. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, only because Boston's done a phenomenal job of really kind of hoarding these draft picks. So for them to give up a number 3 this year, it's not going to hurt them. Yeah. Especially when they'll most likely make a big splash in free agency with all the cap space.
I mean, I know they were trying hard to see if they could shop it to Chicago for Butler, but
and there's still big talk that they may go after Kevin Love still.
Yeah. And I don't. If I'm Cleveland, I would take that. Give me the number 3 pick for Kevin Love. I mean, look what they did in the finals with him looking like an 8th man on the bench.
True.
Yeah, got that right.
About it. Wow. What are your guys' thoughts on the finals?
All right. Are you guys going to give me my moment in the sun here?
Go ahead,
man.
All right. I picked Cleveland in 7. Didn't expect it like this, though. I will be the first to admit I thought it was over at 3-1. Probably should have been. Then there's the whole controversy of Draymond suspended, and that was last show. But, my take is LeBron became great when he needed to be great. Yeah. And he got fantastic support from Tristan Thompson in Game 6 and Kyrie Irving 5 through 7. I think Kyrie Irving showed us more than he's ever shown us in his career during these last 3 games. And it was phenomenal to watch him get around the rim and what people would think are circus shots he's making look easy. So,
and, real quick, shout out to Richard Jefferson too. He had some sparks too. Darnell, he kind of looked like the 04 Jefferson when he carried sorry ass Jason Kidd to the finals, right?
Yeah, he carried Jason Kidd. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ty.
Yeah, but I mean, I think people are more just kind of shocked that it actually happened, a team coming back from 3-1 in the finals, and let alone basically a 2-man Cleveland team against these basically beloved Warriors, America's team right now, the big bandwagon. I mean, anybody who was pulling for Golden State was just kind of sitting back in their chair being like, we got this. And then LeBron woke up or something, went 41, and then a triple-double in Game 7. I mean, you could not have asked for LeBron to play any better or do anything more because I don't think he could have done anything more at that point.
The whole team in every statistical category.
Correct.
So that's...
Well, he led both teams in every statistical category.
So that's just...
So he, I think he deserved MVP. I think it would have been very interesting to see who would have won MVP if Golden State won, because I don't know that Golden State necessarily had an MVP, but I think it would have gone to Draymond Green because he balled out.
He was Game 7, man. That was, first half was amazing. If, Draymond Green 30 points and Golden State 15 3-pointers in Game 7, you would have thought they won.
Sure.
To be honest. I mean, I think, the story once again was the Splash Brothers weren't there. Specifically, Curry wasn't there. I think Curry only put up 14 or 17 points. I mean, they needed 30 out of him, to be honest.
Yeah.
They just kind of faded away, and I don't really know what happened because it seems like they were there all year until this series, and then I think Klay Thompson had one game where he played really well, and Curry had two, but one ended in an ejection and a loss. But I mean, basically summing it up, at the beginning I picked Cleveland in 7 because I thought they were hot coming in, and they fell down 3-1, and I thought it was over.
Yeah.
And they somehow stormed back. So I'm not sitting here saying I knew it. I'm just sitting here saying, LeBron showed up, and he saved my pick.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think this was one of the best finals I've seen in quite a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, you had there were still the blowouts that we were getting tired of throughout the playoffs, but
I'll say Game 7. I won't say finals, but definitely one of the greatest, endings to it.
I put it still as a whole just because of the drama that was with it. I mean,
yeah, okay, yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
We had that. You had Golden State go up 3-1, so just looked like ball game. Give them another trophy, and we look forward to next year. But then you had Cleveland just all of a sudden turned around. You got the story of them getting their first title in 50 years, and for any sport in the city. So it's just. I think a lot of that added to it because you know how sometimes just outside factors and what's going on at the time can make something a lot more memorable. Yeah, Game 7 in itself was amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of go along with some of the stuff Tyler said. I mean, I think LeBron kind of cemented himself in that game as he's top 5. Anybody that doesn't like it, you just need to go run into a wall.
Top 5 all time?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think he sealed it right there. I mean, to do what he did for a whole finals, average what he did, pull him back from 3-1. I mean, Kyrie definitely assisted, but they were basically a 2-man show doing that because their third and their big 3 didn't show up. And, I mean, we're going to talk about issues on Golden State's side, but I definitely want to take the time to give the props to Cleveland. They still had to play well on their side. They still could have lost Game 7. This was a close game, but their 2 best players showed up. I'm usually not a big Kyrie Irving guy. He proved a lot to me.
Yeah.
He hit big shots at big times. He actually played some solid D. I think he was a lot that had to do with getting Curry to like a lot of his fall off.
Yeah.
And I think his offense kind of frustrated Steph Curry, and he was in his face at the right times on defense as well.
Yeah.
So props to Cleveland. Congratulations to the city. I know they're happy. They're probably still partying and drinking.
Yeah.
But great series with all the outside factors coming in. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Sure. Now, real quick, before we get I'll just ask you guys this: was this more of Cleveland winning the series or Golden State losing the series? Like how?
I think you almost have to say Cleveland winning it because no team had done this before in the finals, coming back from 3-1. Granted, like I said, they got some help. The Splash Brothers weren't really there.
And a suspension too, so.
Yeah, and a suspension. I mean, granted, you can attribute it to poor shooting. You can contribute it to good defense.
Yeah.
It depends what story you want to tell.
Yeah.
I think it's more of the fact that Cleveland didn't give up. LeBron became great and took over. So I credit more Cleveland winning rather than Golden State losing because I still think Golden State could have won Game 7. They were in it. They were in it at the end.
Yeah.
Despite Klay Thompson playing poor, despite Curry shooting poor. They still could have won it.
I just saw just a quick little play. I knew like LeBron wanted that championship bad when he chased down that layup and he blocked it. I was just like, wow, yeah.
Oh yeah.
I was like, this dude wanted that title like more than anything. That was just shows his hustle and dedication to the game. That play was amazing.
Yeah, that's going to be the memorable play of that series.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of interesting because talking about the end right there, when he had that block, you know, what proved he hustled hard was the fact that when he went up for the block, I swear his head was at the top of the box on the backboard. You know, he was up. He was up there. But one play that I absolutely loved, and I think there's some irony in it, is the fact that there was less than a minute to go, and this was when Kyrie was dribbling up top with Curry on him, and he drained the three. You know, I think it's irony that the dagger ended up being a 3-pointer against Golden State.
Yeah.
You know, the thing that Golden State wrote all year, the thing that they had so much success with, that ended up stabbing him in the back.
Yeah.
Right at the end there. And, you know, it was funny because Kyrie Irving hit that shot, and I literally jumped up and I was like, beat him at his own game. You know, it was that big of a shot.
Yeah.
At the time. I think it was that big of a shot. And I just think the sequence of that shot and that block by LeBron are two plays that those Cleveland fans will remember forever.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, going back to the question, I basically see it, you know, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
Yeah.
Both teams had to do their part for it to roll the way it did. I mean, Cleveland, they stepped up when their back was against the wall. They stepped up their play, played a lot better, got themselves back into it to force that game 7. And, you know, I think it was a little bit of pride before the fall with Golden State. Because, you know, like, I kind of started to feel it after their press conference after they lost game 5.
Yeah.
After they lost a game where Draymond was suspended, just a lot of, well, we got to win 1. They got to come back and win 2. I like our chances at doing this. And, like, even all the way up to Steve Kerr was just like, man, like, I guess it's fine to be confident, but y'all are, ooh.
Yeah, speaking of that, one thing, I didn't touch on it last week, but kind of like, I definitely agree with you, Darnell. But one thing that kind of like set me off, cause like they were kind of jawing at LeBron James about that. But, one was with Maurice Spates, when he got on Twitter and did the whole like baby bottle thing or whatever on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it was kind of like, dude, you're not in the same league as LeBron. You're not an all-star. Like, you average pretty much 4 minutes a game the whole entire finals. So it's like, dude, instead of getting on Twitter, get a basketball, get your ass in the gym and work on your game instead of picking fun at this dude. Because all that's going to do is make that guy even more mad and give him much more motivation to go out there and want to win against you guys. You guys already got Draymond getting ready to be suspended and stuff. Like, don't give this guy any more fuel. Just focus on your game, man. Like, when I saw them, like, doing that, it was just kind of like, okay, it's one thing to be confident in yourselves, but when you got dudes that's only, like, playing, like, 4 minutes a game, getting on Twitter, just jawing off, it's kind of like, okay, you guys need to dedicate your time to something else. Because I just saw that. I was like, that can't be good. And LeBron came out there and sealed the deal in Game 7.
Yeah,
so
but
it's like,
but isn't that kind of how it always goes, though? It seems like the people that play the least are the ones who get up and yell the loudest. I mean, it kind of seems like that's how it is. And everybody from the outside of the situation is like, what in the world are you doing?
Yeah.
I mean, granted, the whole team was really frustrated because even, you know, Klay Thompson got there and said, you know, LeBron must have had his feelings hurt.
Yeah.
No, granted that probably wasn't smart either, but
I mean, at least Klay Thompson, like, the dude can ball, you know. But it's like, yeah, you have a dude that's averaging 4 minutes a game. It's like, if I'm, like, in that situation, I'm getting on the court, like, trying to just ball out so I can get more playing time, just make sure in those 4 minutes I can be productive as possible. But it's like, you're getting on Twitter talking all this trash. Like, one thing I give respect about LeBron is that, you know, when playoff time comes, he's off Twitter. He's 100% focused on winning. So, you know, I give LeBron much credit to that. But when you got a guy that's just averaging 4 minutes, like 4 minutes in the finals or so, it's kind of like, dude, why are you talking? That irked me. I was like, wow.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it didn't get to me as much. I mean, if you talk, whatever. I'm assuming they were just trying to play games to see if they could, you know, get LeBron outside of himself and to do things that he doesn't do in a game. See if they could get him mad enough to do something stupid, I'm assuming. But, I mean, they didn't back it up. So now they just look like asshats. Yeah. So, just like, sorry, if you're going to be cocky about it, you better back it up, or it's going to look real stupid. You're going to be the one with your pants down.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, and I think, Trey, I think you exactly called it. You know, you said, don't wake the sleeping giant. Yeah. And LeBron turned on another gear after that.
Yeah. 41 points, game 5, 41, game 6.
And a triple-double, game 7.
Just going off.
Yeah, so I mean, it's... And granted, I think LeBron would have showed up even if they didn't try to poke him. I think it's just the idea that LeBron just was ready to shut them up too.
Oh yeah, for sure. You could see that with him, especially how LeBron actually started kind of talking himself during games.
Yeah, well, was it game 6
when he blocked Curry?
Oh, one of the many blocks he had on Curry, you know, and then he just looks back at him like, "Child, get off me."
Yeah.
You know, when that happened, I'm like, this is still LeBron's league, man. Unbelievable. Like that moment, like that snapshot of LeBron looking back at him, like I saw that picture everywhere after it happened. And a lot of crying Jordan memes.
Yeah. Now, what were your guys' thoughts on this whole Ayesha Curry thing and, you know, her tweet about the NBA being rigged and whatnot? How did you guys think about that? Because that was getting a lot of coverage.
Yeah.
And they even, like, I showed you, like, they even had the Buy Ayesha t-shirts and everything.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you know, she was frustrated like the rest of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. You know, like, people making like a big issue out of it. At the end of the day, you know, that's her husband. You know, like,
exactly.
She's supposed to support him. Like, what is she gonna do? Just cuss him out on Twitter?
It's her paycheck too.
Yeah, yeah. You know, like, she's her whole rigged assessment. I do believe that like part of it, as I was telling you guys earlier, I do believe it was rigged in a way. With the whole Game 5 suspension of Draymond. If he would have done that in Game 6 and they were heading to Game 7, he wouldn't have got suspended. You know, like I said, we as fans, we look at the NBA as a form of entertainment, but Adam Silver and those guys, they're looking at it as a business standpoint. So it's a good opportunity for them to generate more money and revenue for the business. I played in 98. That was 96, 98. It was one of those.
96.
Yeah, 96. So, you know, just a chance for them to make more money off of it. Do I think that they had the viewpoint of, okay, we're going to rig it so that LeBron wins? No, but I do believe that they wanted this to go as long as it could possibly be, so they can generate as much revenue as they possibly can. So that's what I think about the whole rigged issue, but at the same time, you're defending your husband. So I would be foolish to do that. So
yeah, I'm with you. I mean, on her part, it was probably the worst thing to say, to just send the whole rig stuff into the NBA. Yeah. Like, it's not the WWE. Yeah, there are some decisions made for keeping eyes on the product, but they're not trying to sway games to make sure somebody else wins. They're just, you know, something that is clearly they could that they're not fixing the game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, she was sticking up for her boo that was playing terrible.
Yeah.
But she should have picked something else just to say.
Yeah.
Like, blame it on the refs, blame it on, like, say we only lost because you suspended one of our players, whatever.
Yeah.
But let's Let's chill out on the rig.
Yeah.
Let's not take it that far.
Yeah, and I mean, outside of the poor grammar and outside of the spelling error that was in it, you have to look past it and be like, it's emotions run hot when you have a lot invested.
Yeah.
So I get it. Like you said, Darnell was probably the wrong thing to say, but do we always say the right thing in the moment?
No.
I don't think we can judge too hard.
And also, that's why we need to stop giving credence to players' spouses and stuff like that. I know she has a Twitter account, but it did not need to be news.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
That's true, for sure, yeah.
Well, when you get the blue check mark next to your name, anything becomes news at that point.
Yeah.
Anything becomes news at that point.
Yeah, for sure. Now, me and Darnell especially, we had, a little chat about this after the game. But who do you think is to blame for this loss, if you were to name a player?
Stephen Curry.
Wardell. Stephen Curry.
Wardell.
He's not even Steph. He's Wardell now.
Yeah.
He should be.
Yeah.
All right. Why so, man?
This is the league MVP. This is a guy who, unanimous. First ever unanimous MVP. Made his bread off of, jacking shots from out to 30 feet like it's a free throw.
Yeah.
And his shooting percentage went down in the finals. His turnover rate went up in the finals. His lack of defense showed up in the finals. I mean, yeah, I know where you're going to go with it, Trey, but that's the best player on this team. That's the one that everybody's supposed to be dependent on. What did he do in Game 7?
Yeah, sure.
What did he do in Game 5 when they didn't have one of their starters?
Yeah.
He got himself ejected.
Okay.
He had 2 games and only one of them really helped the team.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't have a problem with that. I do believe that Steph Curry is definitely part to blame of that. I'm going to go way before the finals. With his performance, I do believe that his knee and ankles were still bothering him from the injuries. I'm still not going to use that as an excuse because, as I stated earlier, when they played Portland, and I think he first got injured against the Clippers, right?
Believe so.
Yeah, when he first got injured, I believe he should have took the time to go up to Draymond, or Draymond going up to him and say, "Hey, look, I'm injured, but guess what? I still believe you guys can win against Portland in the next series. I believe they could do it too. So I think he should have took the time to make sure that he got enough rest and everything to make sure that his knee and ankle or whatever it was, if he couldn't get it to 100%, get it to as close as 100% as possible. So then, them stretching out Game 7s against OKC and getting on to a Game 7 against Cleveland, they wouldn't be having that much of a problem as I believe it was having against them. Because he even said, he wasn't even going to do the Olympic thing because of the injuries that he's been having to his knees and whatnot. So I'm not saying that, he's not to blame 100% at all. I do believe he did have his part in it. I believe that, every player, they should have something that they need to work on in the off season. I think something that he needs to work on is trusting his teammates. I really do believe he should have went up to Draymond and those guys and said, "Hey, look, Draymond, I'm going to need you to step up. Clay, I need you to be a leader too. Iggy, Mr. Finals MVP, I'm going to need you to use your veteran leadership to make sure these guys are ready." Because I do believe that even though if he would have sat out longer, he could have overcame teams like Portland in the Western playoffs. So
okay.
I do believe that. But
question though.
Okay.
I see what you're saying as far as, the ankle and knee could have been a factor, even though he hasn't complained about it.
Yeah.
I'm not buying it, but
like I said, I think that's the issue with him. I am not 100% sure, but that's what I think.
Okay.
Just with his shooting
and
stuff.
I get that. So if you think that, I'm taking it back even further beyond where you're taking it.
Okay.
What was his excuse for not playing well last year then?
That's true. He didn't play well last year, but he didn't have the best. But at the end of the day, they won. So
they did. But I'm just saying, like, unanimous MVP, and now that's 2 straight finals where he crapped the bed.
Okay, I'm about to get to it, but this is my whole thing. Regardless of the injury or not, before, in my opinion, when Draymond Green got suspended, I believe that suspension changed the whole momentum and everything of the series. That was vital. I do believe that if Draymond didn't get suspended, I do believe the series would have ended in 5 games. They were already up 3-1, regardless of how Steph Curry was playing. So they basically had a formula on how to win. Now, as we stated before, we did pretty much say that Draymond Green was the leader of the team. Here's my thing. If you're a leader of a team, whether by your actions or by your words, you should not be getting suspended in the finals. Even though, like I said, I do believe, based upon what I heard from Adam Silver, I do believe that his explanation was BS about how, okay, well, we gave him a suspension because of the total amount of excessive flagrants that he's gotten. But it was kind of like, when I heard that, I was kind of like, you already have a rule for that. If he would have gotten an extra flagrant after you suspended him, he would have been suspended anyway. So I do think that was nonsense. But at the same way, I don't believe if you're a leader of a team, you should not be getting suspended. If, for instance, okay, Game 5, if Kyrie would have done something to get suspended, how he's been helped playing good with LeBron, do you think Cleveland would have had a chance to win?
Well, not if he was gone for a game. If it was the same situation, they're down 3-1 and he gets suspended, they'd be screwed. But I say that because Kevin Love was also being garbage.
Yeah, true.
If Kevin Love was playing to his potential and Kyrie went out, I wouldn't say he have no shot.
Yeah.
But, because, with LeBron by himself last year, he took him to 6 games, wasn't it? Wasn't it 6?
Yes.
Yeah, it was 6. And he was a stud.
Yeah. So, that's LeBron by himself. So, no, I can't say if the exact same thing happened. And I don't think it should have been the case with Golden State because there's Klay Thompson, there's Steph Curry. You have 2 guys that all season have been pretty much untouchable from behind the arc, and they kind of faded.
Yeah. Like I said, I do, with the whole Steph Curry situation, I do agree with that. It's just, if you're a leader, or basically, can we say that Draymond's the best all-around player on the team?
Yeah.
Ooh, okay. You can say it, yeah.
Okay, do you agree with the statement? All-around player.
I would agree with it.
He can do the most. He can do the most things well on a team.
Yeah.
But, when people say he's the best all around,
not the best player, not the best, but all around. The guy can rebound. The dude can pass. Great defensively. Yeah. Okay. But like I said, when you're like the best all around player, I'm just thinking when you're a leader of the team, back when Shaq and Kobe were having all those issues that they were having, Shaq or Kobe never had to worry about, Shaq got suspended. So back with Jordan and Pippen, none of them had to worry about each other getting suspended or anything like that.
Did they have to worry about one of them playing terrible for a finals?
True, but like I said, they were already up 3-1. They had a formula that was getting them a win.
Trey.
When the guy got
what happened to the formula in Game 6 and 7?
Trey.
What?
Just hear it out. Game 7. Who showed up? In the last game, who showed up?
It was Draymond. He had a nice first half.
He had a nice game.
Well, he had a nice game, but the second half wasn't nowhere near the production that he had.
Well, are you going to expect?
Should he have to?
Threes? Yeah.
Should have he had to duplicate his first half performance?
Trey, which option is Draymond on the offensive end? Third. He had 35. What was it? 14 rebounds and 9 assists. What more do you want from him?
Hey, but All I'm saying is this. They had a formula before he got suspended. They were up 3-1. That suspension in itself changed the whole momentum and everything of the series.
Well, one, I don't believe in momentum.
Okay.
But, so I agree. It hurt them for game 5. I will not.
Do you think the suspension was the key part of the series?
It was a big turning point. I think the key, I stand by the key is your best players need to play well. And they did not.
He didn't play that well last year, but he won the championship.
But the rest of the team, how long can you expect a team to carry your best player? That's not supposed to. It's supposed to be the other way around. Right. When times get tough, that's when your best player is supposed to rise up. Yeah. That didn't happen. That was a tough time not having Draymond Green there. Yes, he's a vocal leader. Curry played a decent game, but it was a losing effort, and then he got himself. Who's to say him getting himself suspended or ejected didn't cause more momentum, as you're saying?
Maybe. Okay. Like I said, just my thoughts. But
the game Draymond was suspended. Did you expect Golden State to win that game?
The game that Draymond got suspended?
Correct.
No, I didn't. I expected them. Well, they had a good chance. They were at home. They had, that home when they play at home, they're pretty amazing. So I saw it was like an even playing ground. But I do believe, I had them winning in 5. I do believe that if Draymond didn't get suspended for what he did in Game 4, like I said, even though I believe that the suspension was BS, I do. But I do believe that if he would have played Game 5, they would have won a series in Game 5. I just think that whole, I believe in momentum. I believe that whole breaking, when he got suspended, that just basically changed, the whole, just momentum for, Golden State. Because with LeBron, when he's down 3-1, it's like, okay, we got confidence. I believe we can do it. But when their best all around player got suspended, like his attitude was like, okay, the best all around player on the team is not playing. So okay, we got a good chance to win this game. Then they win that game. It's like, okay, well, he's coming back, but guess what? We're playing at home. We're in Cleveland, baby. We already won a home game against them. So let's go out there and win it. So they won it. Game 7 to me was like, okay, we won 2 in a row. Who wants this more? And I think the team that wanted it more won. LeBron he just had an unstoppable will for Game 7. So I just believe, like I said, I do believe that the whole Draymond thing was, when he got suspended, was absolute BS. But I just believe that just due to him getting suspended, that just changed the whole just outcome and pace of the game for Golden State. Because I do believe if he was to play Game 5, there wouldn't be a Game 6 or a Game 7.
And I'm not going to say you're absolutely wrong on that, but I just think the point, like I said, I'm not.
Like I said, I'm not saying, oh, Steph Curry, he was awesome. It's not his fault. I do, he played a key role in that too. Because like I said, when you're a great player, you have to show up. I do understand that. Especially when you're the first time ever unanimous MVP. I do understand that. It just, even though he was playing bad, they did win his championship last year when playing bad, and they were up 3-1. I just believe with Draymond Green, with his presence when he gets on that floor, with him just being able to just fire those guys up. I just believe that, even though he got suspended, like I said, the 20th time already, I do believe it was BS. Just a guy with his presence when he steps out on the floor, they can just get the job done with him. I do believe that. Like I said, I called it in 5, but I do believe with them being up 3-1, them going home, Draymond would have had those guys ready to close the deal.
Yeah, like I said, as far as that one game he wasn't there, it cost him. Yeah. But like I said, I'm not big on a game-to-game basis. Like I don't think momentum carries on to another game. Okay. If you've had multiple nights to sleep and do all kinds of things, like momentum, I can deal with it like in the midst of a game. Yeah. Like when your team starts rolling and you're shooting well and you're feeding off each other, okay. But there was 2 more games after that, and they had the lead though. They had a series lead that whole time until they choked it away in Game 7.
Okay. Let me call him real quick. He's been having some trouble tonight connecting.
Just text.
There we
There
go.
he is.
Oh, you're here. Okay.
Yeah, I think we got some storms rolling in.
Okay.
My fault.
Settled the argument for us time.
All right.
I already know who he's siding with, so I lost.
Well, I'm gonna bring in a third name that neither of you mentioned, but I think ultimately it has to rest with Steph Curry.
Okay.
Ultimately, I believe it does. Just like Darnell said, you're the unanimous MVP. You, in essence, have carried this team 2 games in the finals where he played pretty good.
Yeah.
But you need more than 2 games in the finals. I mean, I think it's just, I think it now is obvious to a lot of people that when he doesn't shoot the ball well, he doesn't have much to offer. I mean, he only averaged just over 3.5 assists a game.
Let me see real quick. What was the stats in Game 7?
I think he had 14 or 17 points.
He has 17, but I want to see what was his rebounds and
okay.
For Game 7, he had 17 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists. Definitely should have stepped his assist up.
Became kind of a liability.
Yeah, because he was turning. Yeah, he was turning.
Like that behind the back pass.
Unbelievable.
Went out of bounds. I was like, what are you doing?
Well, I texted you guys and I was like, Game 7's not the time for that. At all. I mean, granted, okay, yes, he's the best shooter in the NBA right now. But when you're touching the ball, every offensive possession, you need more than 2 assists as the leader of a team.
Yeah.
As the point guard of a team, you need more than 2 assists in Game 7. Now, I think when you look at Draymond getting suspended, losing Game 5, as much as I don't want to, I kind of gave Golden State a pass. I was kind of in the mentality, they have 2 more. They'll most likely take one of them, probably. You know, will we see them win Game 6 on the road like they did last year? I mean, are we just going to see the same story again? But that obviously didn't happen. And then Game 7 happened, and I'm like, all right, they're at home. I'm kind of expecting them to win. You know, Steph Curry's at home. He's comfortable here. There's no excuse. And I was going into that game saying no excuse for him. And Draymond lit it up in the first half, and I thought they were home free. Because Curry hadn't shown up yet. Klay Thompson hadn't shown up yet. And they just continued to not show up. And it was just baffling to see them stay quiet for so long, and just, especially Steph Curry, you know, turnovers, and it was just unbelievable. But then here's where I'm going to bring in the third name that neither of you guys mentioned. Harrison Barnes.
He was missing some shots.
What was he doing on the floor? I mean, granted, you are going to get 2 assists a game when you're passing the ball to him.
Yeah.
I mean, he was missing wide open shots. He was missing around the rim. He was missing from 3. He was missing literally everything. For the entire series, he shot 31% from 3, which isn't awful, but he shoots better than that. And then 35 from 2-point range. That's just his field goal percentage. So, I mean,
shot that well.
That's what I'm saying.
Anything.
Post Draymond suspension, he was invisible. Straight invisible.
Yeah.
Guy that, who for the series only averaged 9 points.
Yeah.
I mean, he should be 14 to 18 points a game. Well, maybe not 18, but at least 14 or 16 a game for them.
Yeah.
With how many times he was left wide open for at least Game 6 and 7, he should have been scoring 20, 22 points. And he just, it looked like he couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. He literally, he almost played worse offense than Kevin Love. And that was bad.
Yeah, that's hard to do.
So I mean, yes, I do think the bulk of the blame should rest with Steph Curry, and he should expect that, I think. As unanimous MVP, you should expect that. But I also think one of their key supporting players in Harrison Barnes was invisible. And, when we're talking about, LeBron got some help, Curry didn't exactly get the range of help that he normally gets.
Yeah.
And I think that's just a trying to rationalize and be fair argument. But Steph Curry should be doing better than he did as well.
Yeah.
And like I said.
Did we lose you again?
No, you got me?
Okay. Yeah.
You good? Yeah. So, I mean, you need more than 2 games in the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
And he didn't deliver when they needed it the most. And going into Game 7, he said he's going to need the biggest game of his career. And he basically face-planted.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's not like he's going to get remembered for this. And it's not like this is going to define his career. But this is one they should have had.
I don't know. I think it could cause an issue. I mean, look how long LeBron had to.
That's true.
He had to get past the. He's good for 3 quarters bit. He can. Yeah. When you need to break a dollar, he can only give you 3 quarters.
Yeah, but I also think Steph Curry's won a fan base over in a way that LeBron still kind of brought in the criticism.
Yeah.
So I think just public perception plays a role there. But I agree with you. Should it be that way? I mean, maybe. But I do think that he already has won over a fan base that won't turn on him.
Yeah.
I think it took LeBron a long time for people to, I guess, get off the fence on him.
Yeah. And like I said, I think like when he first, like with the whole the decision thing, with him getting ready to
that
go to the Heat, that really rubbed people the wrong way, and that caused a lot of people to hate him. So with Steph, with him just being on a team like since day one and everything, I don't think that's gonna be as bad. But we're always gonna be talking about them going 73-9 and just blowing it in the finals. So that's going to be talked about forever.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So,
I think the 95-96 Bulls kind of celebrated a little.
Yeah. Might have had their own parade, too. Yeah. Anything left on this, guys?
It was fun.
Yeah, but good points, Good points fun.
Yeah, I won.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, how does this loss affect Curry? It's Curry's legacy.
It's a big blow in my eyes. Like I say, everybody kind of didn't say anything about last year because they did win the title, and then of course he came back through this regular season and was ridiculous with how good he was. But come back around, he's back in the same situation, and the MVP, like I'm still looking for him. So.
Yeah,
I think it's a big hit. He can't be covered by a gold ring this season because they didn't get it. And like going to the last discussion, I feel like he was a big reason why they didn't.
Yeah, I personally think it's maybe a little too early to tell whether this will hurt his career. Because if they make a 3rd NBA Finals in a row, granted, I think that'll be the talk. But it'll be a great opportunity for him to kind of step in and just shut it down. Yeah. I think if it happens one more time, it's going to become habit. And if it becomes habit, that's all anybody's going to talk about. So I think he has one more chance. But if for some reason they don't make the finals, then this is going to be the taste that people have in their mouths. Mm-hmm. And this is what people are going to talk about. So I think in order for it to be, a memory that no one remembers, it's going to take a 3rd NBA Finals and a really good performance.
Yeah.
Agreed.
It's definitely going to hurt his legacy for now, but I think Curry and them boys are pissed. Next year, I think they're going to come out swinging, ready to do even better than they did last year, regular season and postseason. So with a loss like this, man, it's either going to harm you or it's going to do good for you. I think it's going to do good for them. They're going to rest up and then, hit the gym in off season real hard and get better at it. So, but it's going to take some work, man. I just, like I said, it's still going to be talked about. But he has an opportunity to redeem himself. He's a young player, so it's going to be interesting to see.
He's definitely got a shot to come back from it. It's just, I mean, honestly, like, I think this one pulled the wool off of last year's too. If you go back and look, it's just he's had 2 straight finals where he kind of wasn't Steph Curry that we all know. So
now, based on what you guys saw out of this, now if the Cavs had a healthy roster, what do you think? Like, does this kind of make you think that the Cavs would have beat them if they had a healthy roster last year, or what?
No idea.
Yeah, I'm not going into that hypothetical. I mean, it would have been interesting to see. I mean, I'm not saying that the Cavs would have won. I'm not saying they would have lost because, I mean, there was still issues with that team last year as far as them gelling and learning how to play together anyway.
Yeah.
So it could have still turned out that Golden State was just a better team than them last year.
Yeah.
And I mean, this year even is still a big part of it is LeBron played out of his mind. Yes. All time great, single player series, I think, ever.
Yeah.
But he also had Kyrie playing better than I've ever seen him play.
Yeah. If it wasn't for Kyrie too, they wouldn't have got it. Cause
if he didn't put up those games that he had, Golden State would have got one of those wins if we're going to go hypotheticals like this. So give them their ring last year. They won it. They earned it. It's not tainted. But Curry needs to play better in finals.
Yeah, sure. All right, now how does this? Do you have anything to say about that, Ty?
No.
Okay.
No, Darnell's pretty much nailing it.
Okay. Now what about LeBron's legacy? How did this affect it?
Positively. I mean, honestly, that was a performance at least games 5, 6, and 7 for sure that I'll never forget. Yeah. I mean, I think someone who wasn't old enough to remember Michael Jordan pre-Washington Wizards, this is my MJ performance. This is
MJ never had to deal with a Game 7 though, man.
Yeah, so. but this will live up there for me with this is my flu game, if you will. No, seriously, it's the best player of our time playing the best at the biggest stage when his back was against the wall. Jordan had the flu. Here it was 3-1. And to me, this was legendary stuff. I think this, Darnell alluded earlier, this puts him in the top 5 for sure. I think you could argue.
I don't know about that yet.
I think you could argue top 3.
Yeah. He's one of the greatest to ever do it. So, everybody's opinion, I don't argue with the greatest.
I think I told one of my friends the other day, I think this right here puts him number 2, if not in a lot of minds, 1B. But that could be a different discussion for another day. But
so you think he's the second greatest?
I think it would be the only knock you can have on him is his finals record, and that's absolutely it. Yeah. That's all you could put on him. But I mean, if you look at last year's NBA Finals, yes, he took the loss, but he was out of his mind. Anybody who watched that was saying he's clearly the best player on the floor. He got snubbed of the MVP. I mean, he played as good as you can get last year in the finals.
He got snubbed of the finals MVP or regular season MVP?
Finals MVP for sure.
I don't think, just me, we could leave this for another discussion, but I just don't think they should give it to the guy on the losing team. But, that's just my little thing. But I do think he played the best out of everybody on the court. I can't say that, but yeah.
So I think you have a very, very strong argument for putting LeBron at number 2 all time now.
Okay. That's cool.
And I think it's just solely based on the fact of how well, as of late, he's played, win or loss.
Yeah.
And granted, losing doesn't help, but I don't know that you can sit there all day and be like, well, he has to win it on his own. I mean, Michael Jordan didn't even win it on his own.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think this cements him, like, as far, like, when we talked about it earlier when ESPN was doing the rankings. I mean, I had LeBron in my top 10 all time beforehand. I think this puts him up in that top 5 echelon with, puts him pretty much right about at Mount Rushmore for basketball. And I can totally agree with where Tyler was going. I mean, those last 3 games of that series, I would totally fine with somebody of that age range saying this is their moment of seeing the greatest of the flu game, or Jordan hitting the 6 first half threes against Portland. Like, I think that equals up with those moments. I can't go as far as putting him at 2, just because, I mean, I can't just overlook the fumbles he's had in the finals. I mean, he had his non-existent,
and that's the big knock on him, and that will forever be the big knock.
Yeah, so I mean, he definitely was like, you just can't do it. I mean, I've never blamed him for his early finals appearances with Cleveland, because those were just terrible teams, and he dragged them along and came up against teams where by himself he wasn't going to be able to do it. And as far as last year goes, I gave him credit. It was one of the few times I usually go the same way as you, Trey. I'm not about giving a player on the losing team a MVP award, but I wouldn't have been mad last year if they said, you know what, you pretty much averaged triple double and scoring 40 a game in the finals. So, I'm not gonna fight you. I wouldn't have done it myself, but it is. He hit that game winner. But definitely LeBron has cemented himself. He's no longer just that guy that he's so talented, but I can't call him a top 5 talent. He is. He did it. He showed he has that killer instinct when he wants to turn it on.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So no problem with that at all. Any other thoughts on either of those guys' legacies?
I mean,
not LeBron's legacy, but sorry, Ty.
No, go ahead.
Little complaining here from me, but it's more so Cleveland fans. I know everybody loves him now, and he's back to being Jesus, basically. Celebrate this victory. Not celebrate this.
Man.
Yeah, for me, if he doesn't climb your list a little bit, there's probably something wrong with you after this.
Yeah. Respectable. Now, was this the biggest upset in sports history?
Yeah.
I think basketball, NBA history for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know about sports history, but I think this is number 1 in NBA history. I mean, you have best regular season team of all at 3-1 was saying, man, Cleveland's going to do it. Cleveland's really going to do it. I think everybody wrote him off. I mean, everybody was giving Golden State the trophy, the Larry O'Brien trophy at the All-Star break. I mean, I think you would have been dumb not to be giving them the trophy at that point. So for me, this has to be the biggest basketball upset ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I have to frame it, but as far as Cleveland coming back from 3-1, that's huge. But as far as before the first tip happened and you look at the two teams, I never felt like Golden State was this overwhelming favorite where Cleveland shouldn't be on the court with them. So, I mean, in one way, yes, in one way, no. I kind of more lean it's the biggest case of a juggernaut team not sealing the deal, basically.
Yeah.
It was more of a biggest collapse. And that,
for sure, yeah.
In that view for me, because I mean, as far as before the series started, I don't think Cleveland was some.
You did have it going games 7,
yeah,
right? So,
I had Golden State in 7.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, I was thinking I was an idiot once it was 3-1 Golden State.
I think
for sure.
I think you and I both.
I was about to get ready to go off on you guys, man, if we would have won Game 5. But
here's
we?
Now, well, you know what I'm saying. I'm not like the bandwagon dude. I'm just saying, I'm just like for the game,
Yeah.
When I had
I caught you there.
Yeah, my apologies for the grammar. LA for life, man.
So here's a question for you, Darnell, though, just I guess for you to expand on your point a little bit. You know, you saying Cleveland belonged on the floor with them. You know, do you think that view came to be because of their playoff performance? I mean, because leading into the playoffs, they had a ton of question marks. And I think a lot of people were thinking they could get upset.
As far you're talking about Cleveland?
Correct.
Yeah.
Because
for sure, like before the playoffs started, I did not think Cleveland was a sure thing to get to the finals.
Because I agree with that.
But how they showed up, and then just factors come into play. They were well rested. They didn't have to go through the battles that Golden State did. So I thought that in itself evened out the series more for them. So I mean, I don't know how people will look at that 10, 15 years from now. People probably won't be taking that into effect. They'll just be seeing a Cleveland team that had a solid season playing a team that won the most regular season games all time, and that team lost. So I guess it is huge in that way. I mean, like we were talking about it before it even happened, I put it there with the Patriots that went
16-0.
Yeah. Like it's kind of just one of those type of deals. Like you were set for history and you effed it up badly.
Yeah. But one thing I think is very interesting about it is you look at those Patriots and these Warriors. That was a really good Super Bowl game.
For sure, yeah.
And this was a really good Game 7.
Uh-huh.
So I mean, despite what we want to say about Steph Curry not showing up and all that, like despite all of that, I think we can at least sit back and say both the Patriots and the Warriors gave a great run, though.
Yeah.
Like they came real close.
Yeah, on one hand, it took a dude averaging 40 points over 3 games and having a triple-double, and then the other one, it took a dude catching a ball off of his helmet.
Yeah.
But, them's breaks.
Yeah, got that right.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on this, guys?
That should do it.
All right. Now, one person who I would kind of be pissed off about, was David Blatt with this whole situation. Him got him with the best record in the East. They get rid of him. Guy doesn't have any head coaching experience at all. Comes up in there, they win a championship. So if they didn't get rid of Blatt, do you guys think they still would have won?
No.
Nope.
You don't think so?
They didn't respect him.
Exactly.
And that's all I have to say about that.
True.
Yeah. They would have fallen apart in some way just because, like, if there's one thing, like I said, I'm not big on the momentum thing, but I am big on a team's mindset. If you feel like the guy on the other end of the court is doing a lot better at keeping his team together, he's better at calling plays, he's better at managing his team, that will get down to you where you feel like you can't win with this guy, then you won't win with this guy. And that's what would happen with Blatt.
Yeah, that's interesting to me. I mean, they did get to 6 with him with all the injuries last year, but as the season got on this year, you could see that players were just not just interested in Blatt and believed in him as much as they do with Tyronn Lue. So just would have been interesting to see. But yeah, if I was him, man, that must suck, man. Just that whole situation. They just get rid of you, get a new guy in, and just win the championship. So,
yeah, I mean, at least it was a season between it, but I mean, probably the same with Mark Jackson last year.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, for sure.
The history repeats itself.
Yeah. Now, just what are your guys' thoughts on the just whole situation of coaches in the NBA? Particularly, you had 2 rookie coaches go to the finals. Rookie NBA coaches go to the finals last year. Rookie coach gets a championship. Guy goes there again to the finals. Then you get a guy hasn't even coached a full year, goes to the finals, wins it this year. And then with just how some of these just first time coaches are just getting paid with this amount of money. Just how do you guys just think about just coaches right now? You think they're overrated or underappreciated or what?
I mean, I'm not gonna say anybody's overrated, but I just don't feel like the coaching right now is quite as important as the talent.
Yeah.
As far as last year goes, there was a little bit where I do feel like Blatt was kind of out-coached, but it goes back to what I was saying where I just don't think his team believed in him enough that he was going to guide him to the right place. It was more so, if we're going to win this, it's going to be because of LeBron. I think Kerr is basically just a good fit with the Warriors. He kind of fits their attitude, you know. He still holds the best 3-point percentage of all time in NBA history, and you know, and he showed kind of through last year and this year, he kind of has that, you know, smart ass attitude himself where
Yeah.
you know, we're gonna do what we want to do, we're gonna win, so it just kind of fits. But I mean, on the other end of the spectrum, you've had some complete failures on this, trying to get a rookie coach and pay him a lot, i.e. Derrick Fisher.
Yep.
Like, that was
Jason Kidd.
I mean, he's
I
the
wouldn't
middle.
say he failed,
Yeah,
but I think he walked in there
Yeah.
kind of like with an S on his chest, and I don't think Brooklyn wanted to deal with it, so they got rid of him. But you know, he's not. I wouldn't say that his coaching career has been a failure so far.
Well, because he got Brooklyn. He got them to one playoff series, and then he got Milwaukee to a playoff series. So I think he's kind of the in between. He's not a championship caliber coach, but he's not one where it's just
he doesn't have like a, you know, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond on his team and stuff like that. Like he has some players that he needed to work with. So
but so I mean, I just feel like this. It seems like it's the new trend. Like, people are just trying to find that next new hotness to coach. So like now they're starting to pluck from coaching staffs of rookie coaches, with Luke Walton now about to take over for the Lakers. I mean, he stepped in admirably this year. I do think a good majority of that 73-9 record should be with him. I think he should have got votes for coach of the year, honestly, for all the work he did. So I mean, I think it's just the way of the league, you know. Stuff happens, and in sports, if something happens, everybody jumps on the bandwagon until it stops. So
yeah, true.
This the NBA's version of the spread offense. Get a first year coach.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ty.
Yeah, you know, I agree with what Darnell just said. You know, when something starts to work, everyone else starts to do it too. You know? So I think that's one reason to credit. You know, I think another reason is the fact that, you know, a lot of the legendary coaches that have just been around for a long time have just moved on. So you have to replace them with somebody. So you're going to try and get young guys in there to kickstart their careers.
Yeah.
Whether it be an assistant or a former player, you know, whatever it may be. I mean, when you have people, you know, unfortunately, you know, the late Flip Saunders, you know, he has stepped away recently. And even when you look in the past 15, 20 years, I mean, like, Phil Jackson's too old to coach now. And, well, he might not be too old to coach now, but he doesn't want to anymore. And then, you know, Jerry Sloan, and, you know, it just, people move on. They you know, their times just end, and you got to pick someone to replace them. So you're not always able to go out and land the best current coach. You know, you may have to bring up a guy from college and bring in a Billy Donovan, you know, and it works out, or a Brad Stevens and it works out, or you try a Derrick Fisher and it doesn't work out. I mean, it's just like we said earlier, it's the breaks, it happens, but I don't necessarily make too much of it because when people move on, you have to replace them.
Yeah, that's true. All right, guys. Any other thoughts?
No, I think we covered a lot today.
We did.
Just me real quick. If anybody at ESPN is listening to this, for First Take, Skip left, and you got a guy that's working there that's 0-6 in the finals. So I can't be any worse than that. So, and I take a heck of a lot less pay for that. So, give one of the three of us a shout out, man. We can go for it, dude. If we got a guy going 0-6, for picking the finals, such an expert, as you say. So,
man, throwing shots at the 4-letter. Who?
I may need to tweet the show to him.
Yeah, man, go ahead, dude.
Podcast does not represent the thoughts of one Trayon Q. Samuel.
For sure, man. Definitely. But other than that, just make sure you check us out on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, Google Play, SoundCloud. We're on all those places, man. So just type in "Don't Kill the Messengers" podcast. So for sure.
Yep. Share it. Subscribe. Follow us on Twitter, DKM_cast. Email us, DKMcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from anybody. Yeah. Love or hate mail.
Literally anybody.
For sure.